welcome to another episode of White Lithium Eurotrash. This is going to be finally back in the Saab 900 front-end rejuvenation series. I've got a big weekend ahead of me because I want this thing back off at jack stands by the end of this weekend, and there's a lot of work to do. But first of all, came back from Washington Island to a special treat. Look at this. Picked myself up a Seaside Garage t-shirt. Like I've said before, I really appreciate the Seaside Garage videos. Quality automotive content, interesting cars, real work. So I'm definitely willing to support that with my money. And what else do we have here? A couple other things. We've got some from Tight Reach. What do we got here? We've got a low profile Tight Reach ratchet, which works with the existing sockets. So you can see it has a recessed 3/8 there. And so you can get, whoa, that's a light, feels like about a 70 tooth mechanism. Very, very, very light. Almost like a Koken ratchet, not bad. And we've got some other Tight Reach stuff, which don't go calling me a Tight Reach fanboy, but they do make some cool stuff that solves real problems if you work on cars. Let's see what this one is. The extension clamp, a flexible clamp. You guys know what this is for. So say for instance, you can hold it, form it into position that it holds, and then you can here operate that push, and then you can hold a nut or hold a bolt with that. I bet you're gonna see this showcase in these videos. Then we got in the kit, and this Tight Reach stuff, honestly, I love this. This is an independent company out of Iowa. You know, I'm born in Iowa. I graduate of the University of Iowa, so I love an Iowa small business. This was their kind of bread and butter product right here. The rigid extension clamp. You can screw it in here. And this will hold it really rigidly in place, and it's a little bit stronger to fish a nut or a bolt down in there. Those come in 3 different sizes, 3 different lengths. So we will see which of these we end up using the most, but my theory is that it'll be this one, the flexible clamp. When you need to get that bolt down in there and you need to just kind of move it around. All right, without further ado, let's get out to the garage and let's get this episode started. Of note is I've decided to take this spare Saab gauge cluster that I have sitting around off of an 84 900 odometer inoperable, and I'm going to send this to these guys in Denver who rebuild these VDO gauges and see if they can make the whole thing work for me. And yeah, so without further ado. Okay. Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed with where I am. I've been gone for a while, and basically where we ended the last video, I had cleaned and derusted those supports for the new springs. Now I've been soaking all these components in Evaporust, okay? And it's doing a really great job. And interestingly, the Evaporust doesn't do anything to rubber components, and you can just like stick a whole brake caliper in there, which I'm making sure these are nice and free. And let's see. I'm gonna pull some of that stuff out here in a second. I also recently acquired this for $100, this parts washing station. Some other stuff that I've needed I brought from the other place. I got these 2 Mueller Keps magnetic bowls. These are very similar to the Hazet ones that I use normally, but you guys have seen those around. Those are incredibly handy. Need some of those here. And I've got the Oedeker clamps that I'm going to need. Interestingly, we've got a another little tool here. from Mueller caps. Haven't had one of these at this house, and I decided to go a little different route. I have the Hazette one, the other house, but this one is cool. It's just this rigid little wire that you can fish in places, and it really holds position. I like that. And if you notice a common theme amongst different tools that I've gotten here recently, they are all about fishing things around, because I know I've got a lot of fishing to do in the near future. Oh my god, I have so much cardboard around here too. Let's just get some of this. I need to find center and get this workspace organized. Got these parts from Sean at Red Arrow. That's the AC compressor mount that I'm gonna need. We need to get that soaking in some Evaporust like yesterday. Okay. I've recently got the last parts that I need to rebuild those drive shafts. Going with the GKN triple lobe bearings. And we got these beauties from Sean at Red Arrow. Original new old stock CV joints. And we've got this cool couple different shift lever couplers. And some nice Vessel Phillips bits. So I'm gonna basically get organized for a minute here before we get the work really started. To show you a little bit more, like the tight reach sets come with these right here, okay? And so you take this ratchet and basically you know, in that female, you get a very low stack height. So let's just see, this is an inch size. Let's look at a 15 millimeter. All right, and then let's go get a Koken with a 15 millimeters. Yes. So you're kind of looking at like a probably fully half-inch reduction in the total stack thickness of this assembly, which really matters, okay? So this is not something I'm necessarily, I don't know, I'm gonna keep it on the top of the toolbox and see if I reach for it, you know? We'll see. And let's just see if it works for me. A lot of times you need to just see if a tool works for you. Give it a chance, just see if it works. Basically, I've let these calipers kind of sit in the Evaporust for a day or two, and it's done really well. It doesn't hurt the rubber. See, the Evaporust is a chelation product. These two products are chelation products, which remove rust in a different way, whereas a product like the Rust Cutter actually is a phosphoric acid product that converts the rust into a black oxide. Whereas the chelation products are interesting because they almost mechanically remove the rust on a molecular level. And for that reason, they're pretty much safe on rubbers and other things. So with these brake calipers, you know, these early Saab brake calipers are like so unavailable, but you know what? You don't need to have them available because you soak them in here, they get all freed up, totally frees up the calipers. These things are so free, it just came apart on its own, right? And yeah, it looks like a brand new rebuilt caliper. So highly recommend using the chelation rust removers, but these tabs, I need to get them restored, so I'm gonna have to take them all off. The parts that hold the metal tubes on the calipers, get the rust off of those so that we think everything's like ready to go back on. I kind of have to work in stages because I need to be preparing parts to go back onto the car, because like the rust removal and other things takes kind of a long time, takes a couple days, so I need to be thoughtful about how I approach this. Come on, let's see if this comes loose. Unfortunately, I didn't get this end. My solution of Evaporust was not deep enough for me to get this part of it in there. Oh good. Oh good, good, good. All right. I want to salvage these metal tubes. I do not want to have to deal with these. And this one, was bent. So I'm going to kind of rebend it back into the right position once I, first of all, sort out what the right position was. But yeah, this has been on here for a long time. So we're going to get this all de-rusted. Really, really nice. You can see in these tubes already how it's taken the corrosion off of those. But also, you know, these are the calipers that came from Mateus in Poland. You can tell somebody had painted them at some point, and the Evaporust will not get into the paint. It basically doesn't touch the paint at all. This one could use a little bit more of a soak. No, it's moving freely already. Yeah, cool. The spring needs a bit more of a soak. Looks good in there. It's going to be beautiful. So I'm ready to begin soaking these parts, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, is this on? Oh, come on. All right, well, I think what I'm going to do is get out these parts. Now look at this right here. Then I'm going to transfer this fluid. Notice the Evaporust turns completely black. You want to see a lower A-arm that's been sitting in here for like 5 days. Look at this thing. Beautiful. Completely rust-free, okay? Completely rust-free. And especially, I want to be rust-free in here. Sometimes you do have to kind of just give it a little tiny brush, okay? Little tiny brush, because it just piles it up. But yeah, I mean, it's basically a completely rust-free original A-arm. I just don't want to put on those Pro Part Sweden A-arms. I don't think they are at the same quality. And when you think about, you know, Sweden as a country, the Swedes, since the time of the Vikings, have been known for making really, really high quality steel. That's why companies like Sandvik, you know, the great cutting tools company, is a Swedish company. Everything. You see an incredible legacy of high quality steel making in Sweden. And you know what? Pro Part Sweden, you think I want to put a China junk lower A-arm onto this beautiful, beautiful car? No, don't do it. Just take a few days. Slow down, take a few days, and just de-rust. De-rust your original part. We're going to throw a coat of paint on it, and it's going to be good for another 40 years, you know? People just get in this mindset, well, with Saab, you can't just replace every part. You need to fix the parts. Like, if this was any different car, I would have had this done in a fraction of the time, because I would just be like, get a new part, get a new part, get a new part. Throw new parts on it. Instead of here, every single part is getting restored. And, you know, but it's so much more satisfying this way. So much more satisfying. Oh, look, that stuff just comes right off. Comes right off. Let's see what else is in here. We've got, oh my word. There's the spring. Look at that spring. Beautiful. And these washers. Okay, here's the locking washers, the bolts, all of them. What else do we have in here? Let's go fishing. And this stuff isn't really that toxic. Cleans up the nuts really nicely. They look good. Doesn't take off the zinc. Oh, here's the piece for the other caliper. Looks completely de-rusts the parking brake actuation piece. Beautiful, looks like a new part. Anywho, let's get all this hardware out of here. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Ready for paint. All right, so I'm gonna quickly get the AC bracket in here. Can I get it fully submerged? You know, another nice thing about this stuff is that it's really safe to dispose of. Just for the record, this product and this product, I believe, are the same products. So I'm mixing them and it doesn't seem to be causing a problem. I think that they are chemically identical. Let's also go and let's get the hardware for the brakes back in here. Get them really nice, including every little nut and bolt. Where did that other brake spring go? Anywho, let's get that back in there too. Let's get these shift couplers from Sean at Red Arrow in here. And I'm gonna knock off, oh no! I'm gonna knock off some of the, let's just go in. Good. You have to paint these like right away because they start flash, it's so clean that it starts flash rusting like right away. You know what? While we're at it, let's give these brake components a nice little soak. Get them in there. Maybe give them a little brush off. We want to make this thing look just really nice, okay? So let's get those in there. Just degrease that a little. Basically, it starts off slightly acidic. Not super acidic, just slightly acidic, like kind of a 6 sort of pH, I think. And then it will continue to work up until it's at pH neutral of 7. And so you can just save it and use it again and again. But it's also, it's safe to dispose of. You can like pour it down the drain once it's pH neutral. I don't know if I'll do that, but that's what the MSDS indicates. Now, if you remember from the last video, this area up under the springs, I used the rust cutter, black oxide conversion on it. It looks pretty good. Looks like it's converted most of that rust. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna cover it with some green paint quick. Okay. Oh no, that's not the right color. No, it's not that bad. It's not that far off. You'll never see it, of course, but God will know. We're gonna let that paint dry for a little bit, and not only that, it's also gonna get covered with this 3M rubberized undercoating, which is black. So I don't even know why I bothered making it green. As it dried, it is getting darker and it is matching the paint color, but yeah, while we're doing that, waiting, I think we can just kind of, let's continue to just take inventory of all these little parts we have and see what we need to derust before we continue. Here's the idler pulley. You know, it's like, not every one of these components obviously needs to get derusted. Some of them just need to get cleaned up a little bit, but because the stuff kind of needs to sit in the Evaporust for like, kind of like at least a day, if not 2 days. And, you know, so if I want to make constant progress, I kind of need to be thinking ahead a little bit, because I think what's gonna, ooh, yeah, looking good. We'll blow some air in there too. Yeah, that looks good. Looking good. That's a part I'm happy to put back on the car. Any other car, well, most other cars from the 80s, but you would just go and you would replace all this stuff with new. Oh, lower control arm, replace it with new. All this stuff, replace it with new. Only with Saab, drive shaft, replace it with new. But with Saab, you rebuild everything from pieces. And I think that is just like, that is like the practice of Saab ownership, because it forces you mentally out of this like just throw away, replace culture. With Saab, you, by force of GM's stupidity and their slavery to shareholder value and their inability to recognize that there's long-term value in a pure engineering culture business, Okay, because of GM's idiocy, we now get the luxury of having this practice. This little thing right here. Normally you'd go to Napa and you would buy something like this for your car. But here, not only do I get to preserve one, but I get to meet somebody. I get to meet Sean in Massachusetts, and we get to talk about our love of Saab, and that the back and forth, the search for parts, it creates that community which is so strong in Saab ownership and which people really cherish. Of all the other cars I've owned, you know, Mercedes-Benz is close to as passionate, but like BMW, you know, people don't, there isn't the esprit de corps amongst BMW owners, certainly, or even Mercedes-Benz owners or VW owners. I mean, the Vanagon community is kind of the same, but Saab truly is something special. There's a real kindness amongst Saab owners. Okay, now, we're gonna take the bump stop assemblies, again, using the beautiful quality of the Evaporust, and we're gonna just stick them in here, get them derusted. These are the old springs. Without further ado, they get to get sent out for the scrapper. Because in Milwaukee, one of the things that at first I was very leery of, but now I've come to appreciate the system, is this system of recycling that Milwaukee has, where if you leave something metal out, you know, guys will come by and pick it up out of the alley. And it's always kind of, you know, tough to get used to anytime you have people kind of grabbing things from your property and taking them, but it seems like, to me, it seems like an honest trade, and I think it's a very nice way to create a revenue stream for people at the bottom end of the economic spectrum. And it also recycles very valuable metals. You know, again, talking about quality steel. Quality steel is not made from ore. Quality steel is made from scrap. That's why it was such a tragedy when we started selling all of our scrap to China, because then we don't have the ability to make high quality steel. So this kind of grassroots recycling program is so awesome. We're starting to think about putting parts back on the car, so we're gonna finish rebuilding some of these items. Like, let's do the drive shafts right now. And notice on the Saab 900, they're not the same length. The right side of the car, the passenger side of the car, is longer than the driver's side of. Oh, yeah, it's not running, but no, I was just telling Lisden about. She was like, but I was like, I'm gonna need to put some parts in the basement for long-term storage, and you're calling me. That's crazy. But so yeah, and she was like, well, but you're never selling this car. And I was like, who knows? Never say never. When I'm done with this car, it's almost gonna be like too nice to use. And so, like the original headlights, the American style headlights, they'll go into long-term storage, you know, because obviously they'll go with the car. But maybe I want to flip two cars into that, like, I've coveted a Citroen for so long, because I love hydraulic suspension systems. There's the couple Mercedes models that have a fully hydraulic suspension system, and the Citroens that are, I don't know, part of me really wants that. I love Saab, I'll always have a Saab, but for me, I want a Saab to daily drive. I want a Saab that has problems, you know, not a perfect Saab. Did we do the air filter?
No, I have to order it off IPD. Air filter.
Driver door handle, you're good on that.
Mirror left, yeah, that was fixed. Driver door handle.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't think we need to do that. All right, without further ado, let's start getting this rack back together. Let's think about this. I've got the clamp on there, I've got this on there. So it turns out just delicately hitting these with a hammer was my best way to do it. These are thicker on this tie rod than other ones that I've seen, making it harder to bend over. I don't love these tie rod ends, but I've had them sitting around. Okay, these plastic components also right here did not come with these tie rod ends, which I'm a little bit annoyed by. And so I'm actually reusing them, even though I really don't want to do that. These are like, I think these things are kind of like bump stops for the rack as it hits the stop in there. Anyways, the original. I've been out of here only a half hour and he already grabs them.
Okay.
¿Cuánto vale esos partes de metal? ¿Dónde traigas? Allá en... Oh. Sí. Pero es... All right, let's get these inserted into here. See where this goes. There we go. Nice straight fit. All right. Okay. Let me just check the car and make sure that that's not going to interfere with any. You know, it might seem like I'm agonizing over the position of this little metal vent tube, but these are the kind of mistakes, you know, in another life, I used to actually drink while I worked on cars, and I would make stupid mistakes a lot of times, and this is the kind of thing that was the kind of stupid mistake I would make, not considering the little detail that would end up costing me so much time in the long run. And I have since I'm just gonna put just a little dab of never sees on these ends because you know how rusty they get and they're gonna have to be adjusted in the future. So why not get them, put the silvery goodness all over them. Okay, so we've got that pretty much ready to go back on the car. Let's go find the hoses. Have some new power steering hoses around here somewhere. Oh, they'll be right here. Edelman. Let's see how they go on there. Edelweiss, Edelweiss. Every morning I see you. Speaking of things that need to get rust taken off of them. Oh, come on, Saab. Don't make me get out the old Universal. Man, they're gonna make me cut it off, aren't they? I always, because you know, you never have the clearance that you need on the Saab. Let's see here, 19 millimeters. The short clearance Saab ball joint is an open end job right here, and for that reason, you end up getting it stuck on there quite a bit because you can't even see, you can't even get that on. So, boy, you don't know. Oh, see, and of course, it always makes you wonder because they're never that tight either. But let's get a little bit more of that juice on there. Where's the juice? Let's get a little bit more of this juice on there and maybe, just maybe she'll come out. Of course. This one, of course, will be easy. Whoa! Damn it, spilled my goddamn LaCroix. God damn it. I'm running low on LaCroix anyways. I always knew it was going to end this way. Come on, we're in our 40s. The guy in Poland who sells me Saab parts literally calls me on the phone and he's like, oh, Joe, you know, I would have gotten your stuff out, but I'm having all these problems with like the ex-girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, isn't this the life where the guy in Poland who sells you Saab parts gives you a Saab story? That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. I don't know if you guys have somebody in Poland selling you Saab parts, but you need that in your life. You know, you could go with like Latvia, Bulgaria, but Poland, it's in the, you know. Don't make me cut you again, but you're going to. Oh. All right. Okay. All right, take 2. Come on, baby. Ho! Come on. Oh! Oh my word. That had so much energy in it. Oh my word. Oh, that had a lot of kinetic energy in it. That ball joint nearly flew out and hit that Kia. Flew all the way across here. Thank goodness it didn't hit the car. Wow. Man, that's a lot of energy. Whew. Man, it might be time to take a little break and drink a LaCroix. All right. Get that off. Superman's gonna have to come back by. It's gonna be a good day for the scrapper man. I'll let you in on a little secret. I've ordered a basic hydraulic press for this garage, and I can't do the wheel bearings without that press. But I think I can take these whole things, and I can stick them into the Evaporust and at least get them de-rusted while I wait for that press to arrive. For round 2, this side is super rusty. Super rusty. It might be about time to pay some attention to the girlfriend because she gets annoyed. Let's see. Come on, baby. Oh, come on. All right. Now, where's the tool? Where are we going to point it at? We got to point it somewhere where it's not going to hit anything. How about right at my body? All right. Let's go in here. Maybe I'll take this actually out to the alley when I do this one. That way I don't injure anybody. All right, so I'm just getting the entire end assembly into the Evaporust. Then we'll let it sit in there for a bit, see what happens, and then come back in and see if I can fit the other one in somehow. I could also sandblast them. All right, I should keep going, but I feel like I'm not making the best decisions, and so I'm gonna call it for the night. We'll pick this up tomorrow. All right, welcome back. So it's the next day, and let's go and see. Now this is some used Evaporust, but oh my word, look at the line. Oh my God, it's just eating that stuff away. Beautiful, clean part, but hey, let's look over here. Now you saw before I put this in here what this looked like. Oh my God, look at that. It's like brand new. Oh my word. All right, let's wire brush this off a little bit and get it back in some more Evaporust. Oh my. So these rubber bump stops came out really nice too. We're gonna get them ready for paint. Let's just, did that scrapper just, all right, so we're just gonna take this die grinder with this little tool and we're gonna get inside here because, you know, the thing is, I'm in so deep with this. I didn't originally think I was gonna de-rust the entire front suspension, which was obviously very rusty, but once you start making stuff look so nice, it's like, where do you stop? You can't make the whole thing not look nice, so. No, what happened yesterday when I was extracting those ball joints, that was genuinely dangerous, and I'm sorry that you guys, my 323 viewers, had to see me being so stupid and dangerous. That's why I said, Joe, you're done for the day. It's time to go relax, watch Seaside Garage on YouTube, and come back when you're clear of mind and able to do smart things on cars. I nearly shot a ball joint into that Kia that was coming down the alley. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what the insurance would have done to me? They would have thrown the book at me. All right, woo, looking good. All right, maybe we'll, yeah. Don't be, yeah, just slather it on there.
I just don't want to get my hand, that's why. Nope, I got my hand.
All right, I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't organize this workbench a little bit. I do not have enough space for this, so I'm gonna take a minute and just clean things up. The Evaporust does work best when you do intermediate wire brushing, right? Just to loosen it up a little bit. Really lay it to it, because I think this stuff has been so heavily used that it might not be as potent as it once was. Kind of tempted to paint this now because the zinc plating is completely gone. So I think this is going to end up getting into the painted category of parts, even though this would have been zinc plated. You know, you could try, and they've got easy that you would remove the AC from the car. First of all, that you would remove it instead of fixing it, because you're just like, well, I guess I just don't want that AC. But then take off the bracket. That just goes to show how worthless Saabs were to people at one time, where, you know, people didn't even, they weren't even worth fixing. And you know that that auction that was on Bring a Trailer that I had in my feed the other day, that sedan set a new record for a sedan. $23,000 for that 85 16 valve turbo sedan. $23,000 the guy paid for that. And you could imagine just a few years ago, a decade ago, 15 years ago, those cars would have been worthless. If you would have gotten $3,000 for that car, you would have been happy. It's like, oh, that old Saab, it's worthless. And things are changing. And you know the thing that upsets me a little bit? I think some people, some of the old heads in the Saab community are upset that the cars are going up in value. Because they like this little world where they could just like hoard their little collections of cars and buy them for so cheap and keep their, but then now, like the real guys, the real, you know, that are getting in, that are taking it seriously, really taking the cars seriously, they don't like it. They wanted it to be their little troop, or they could be their little, like, because part of loving Saab is like, there's like this bad news bears mentality where you're like, they're not real collector cars, but that's because they're not appreciated by real collectors, because we're smarter than everybody else because we like Saab. And part of Saab is about just like, you know, so many of these guys are like, oh, I'm just so much smarter than the average car collector. So when actual collectors start appreciating the cars, then they're pissed off, because then that undermines their whole argument, you know. that a Saab that Saab is like anti-collectible. I intend to lead the vanguard personally. Okay, and there's a few other guys that I know online, young guys that are discovering Saab, that love Saab. And I have to say that to a large degree, the Saab community, like the older guys, like in their 60s and 70s online, have been super gracious with information. Super gracious. But no, it's just this idea that like when values go up, all these other buyers that basically love Saab, but they're sort of getting priced out of the market. Saab is gentrifying them out of the market, and they're pissed off about it. And I get it, you know. I get why they feel that way. Because they're no longer really the best examples of the cars that they love are going to become unaffordable. Like, I think that this car, when I'm done with it, this car, even though, okay, the car that sold last week on Bring a Trailer for 23 was the 16 valve turbo, right? 85. That was like the only year for the 16 valve turbo. And, you know, you have that. But when I look at the car, when I look at the actual finishes of, somebody did kind of a semi restoration on it, you know, kind of like the stuff I'm doing right now on the suspension, they kind of half-assed did it. You know, a lot better than most cars, but they didn't really do it to the nines the way I'm doing this. And, you know, this is the stuff that's going to make this car last basically another person's lifetime, right? And I think that it's going to also bring me up into that value. And because mine is, the pine green is just so much more desirable of a color. That other car was black. A black car for me, it doesn't really, I don't know. A black car is never that special. It's okay, black doesn't piss people off. I would always take a black car over a white car, but yeah, I mean, it just isn't as special as this green. That people see that green, they're like, whoa. Here you can see these super heavily corroded pieces that hold the brake lines starting to really clean up. I'm gonna give them a quick brushing too. These out, you're coming out right there. She's coming up, so you better get that party started. Coming up. Looking for the other bracket. Fishing around. All right, so we're gonna use the parts washing system as our Evaporust system. Look at this, when you buy this 3-gallon system, it comes with this basket to stick your parts in. That's gonna come in really handy. You do have $75 worth of Evaporust here. Okay, let's hope that drains on tight. Oh. Then we're gonna still reuse the other stuff that I've been using now for a week. That's all black. We're just freshening it up. Okay, so look at how much that 3 gallons got us. Now let's take this over here. And, oh boy.
Careful. Ooh, baby step it.
I've got some sandblasting compound that I was originally going to sandblast a bunch of this stuff here, but it's just so aggressive, you know? Look at this. Yes, thank you. Liz, you are so smart. She's got the brains and the beauty, boys. That's why she's a keeper. That's why we upgraded. The old unit was a good unit too, but there we go. Ooh, look at that right there. Ooh, 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 yeah, yeah. Woo! All right, I think this is just kind of, here, let's cut the video. So I'm gonna actually use this parts washing pump in order to circulate the Evaporust better. And I think by circulating it, it's gonna kind of keep it flowing and less stagnant, and it's gonna end up more effective. At least that's a theory. Okay, so now that we've got those components getting derusted and prepared ostensibly to have the new wheel bearings pressed into them one way or another, hopefully the way that I want to have them pressed, not, you know, some janky, you know, AutoZone tool. But let's go ahead and turn our attention to rebuilding of the calipers and getting the drive shafts rebuilt. So I think we're gonna start with the drive shaft. So I forgot that we haven't sprayed on the rubberized undercoating yet. So let's get some of that sprayed on here quick. Cover up this non-matching green paint. Come on, baby. All right, let's see how this stuff goes on. Yeah. Yeah. Notice I have a rag covering up the CV joint. This is going to be a time to put a mask on. Hold on. Here we putting a mask on. We're turning the ventilation fan up to max on this stuff. Aerosol rubberized undercoating. That's good to breathe. Get it all inside up in here. Of course, we've degreased it again and again and again. Also, we used an entire can of this stuff on just the steering rack tunnel and the drive shaft tunnel, by the way. All right, I'm gonna let it air out in here. I'm gonna drink this LaCroix out in the alley before I start rebuilding these drive shafts. Build of the drive shafts. We're gonna do the long one, passenger side first. Just get in here and cut these clamps off. Cleaned off. These ones I got new from FCP Euro, the GKNs. Oh no. Oh, they're not the same. Oh my. Oh, these are, oh my. Well, that is really something, isn't it? You know what's fascinating? So I've already done this job once on the 86 car, and I think they were like this. So between the 84 and the 86 car, these things grew in diameter. I wonder if these are even available. I'm gonna, we've got right here. Ooh. Ooh, that is mucky in there. Right there. Let's see if this part should be identical. This one that I got from Sean at Red Arrow, this new old stock part, this one is so nice. It's not exactly identical though. All right, let's get this off. Look at this absolutely beautiful new old stock CV joint, rust-free, the Cosmoline that it's been protected and entombed in for all these years. This is a original Lowbro part. 2994 is 94 the date of manufacture, made in Germany. All right, let's look and see what we have on here, see if we can, let's get this off and then we'll see if we can look at any mark. Let's go ahead and should buy stock in the CRC company lately. All right, so basically what I've discovered here is that the CV joint, which is on the car, all right, see the new part, the new old stock part has this spot right here where you could access the snap ring to remove it with a pair of pliers. This part right here that was on the car does not have that. So the question is, how do you get at the snap ring in order to release it? Am I gonna do cut this thing off? And I don't know what's up with this because there's no markings in this area. You know, if you look at this area where there's markings on the part, I really don't see any markings. I'm gonna have to go to, let's take the driver's side, the short one, let's take this apart. Let's see what we've got going on here and see if it's the same type of parts. Because if the other one was replaced at some point, there's really nothing saying that these drive shafts are even gonna be the same. So they definitely don't have the same clamps on them. This other one, the more and more I think of it, the more I think it's gonna be one of these track motive junk clamps, okay? Or drive shafts. And you know what? I don't even want the shaft itself. Oh, look, great. Clamp just came apart. Oh, this one is a lot looser. And what do you know? This is an original part that I can rebuild. All right, so we'll rebuild the one. So the other one is a fucking track motive piece of shit. Fuck it. Come on, baby. Look at how one of these clamps that was holding on the boot has this blue coloration. These are like the fancy Swedish original ones that also it's a different type of, you know, look at the difference in the groove where the worm goes. I'm gonna definitely hold on to this one. This is, and it just has a nice precise feel to it. That's a nice clamp right there. The presumably original tri-lobe bearing doesn't, which seems in good order, doesn't have any markings on it whatsoever. This is a forging right here. What a nice component. So a really interesting thing. Now, I actually did have to destroy this part to remove it. This part, which was the original part, if you look at where they cut this relief to open it up to allow you to extract it, it was in a different position closer to this ball than on this part. And you could not get the snap ring opened up far enough to actually move it. So I had to grind away in order to get the snap ring opened up far enough for it to release. All right, so that eventually came off. Wow, it's on there pretty tight actually. It's definitely not just sailing off. I may end up reusing this part, so I don't want to like hit it too hard with anything. What can we do? Maybe hit that with some penetrating oil. Soak it in there a little bit. Get a little tap with the plastico. Come on, baby. Wow, that is on there. That's slowly but surely, she's coming off. Okay, so we have drive axles that I can't rebuild. Incorrect parts. So the question is, what can I get done? So I think what I can get done is I can get the belts changed, and I can kind of start to see how things are looking under the car in preparation for putting the steering rack back on. Let's go look at that. I have a feeling that I'm gonna end up taking all of this stuff off when it comes time to, if I end up getting serious and doing the bushings on the upper A-arms, I'm gonna end up having to take a lot of this stuff off, so no, it's probably not. The hardware store hardware. That is not even a metric bolt. Oh, why? Why? Tell me why. Oh, why? I'm not really sure why I've got two longish belts, which would be for like the power steering maybe, and only one of the shorter belts. Are either of these the right belts for the power steering? Maybe this one is right here. That looks like the right belt for the power steering anyways. Chintzy junk. Hecho en Mexico. But yet I only have one of the... Oh, these belts are bad. Oh, they're all cracked. I'm really glad I'm changing these. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, let's go over and get one of these on Amazon. A Continental belt. So what I'm going to do, kind of in preparation to put the steering rack back on, is there's a lot of stuff in here which is blocked by the steering rack, okay? And it's so much more accessible with it's out. So, you know, positives, a lot of positive things going on here. I don't see signs of the main seal leaking here. That's really good. I don't see a lot of dripping around the crankcase. Things honestly seem like they're in really pretty good condition here, because it's never really shifted exactly the way I want. So what I want to do is have a buddy of mine come over and we're going to look at this and look at that shift linkage. But I want to kind of start digging into why the car doesn't shift quite as loose as I would want. And weirdly, I feel like the parking brake cable shouldn't be rubbing against the shift linkage. That's neither here nor there, but this kind of bushing or seal right here on the where the shifter gear case shaft goes into the transmission, I don't know. It's always been an area that's kind of interested me. You know, when I go here, I can just turns really freely, actually. More freely one direction than the other. Yeah, let's just kind of, let's get this all cleaned out in here. I think that is a rubber seal, which is substantially, I don't know, it looks worn to me. I can't really tell from this angle, but it looks like it's made to be replaced from the outside. I'm gonna have to look into this a little bit. Okay, a great blessing has just happened and Liston has just arrived, and so she can help me. Okay, so here's what you gotta do. You gotta get in the car on the driver's side like you're gonna drive, okay? And we're just gonna move the shift lever in a way that I tell you, okay? Hang on, let me get the light positioned. All right, we need to really, we're gonna try and see, okay. How rigid is this component right here? All right, so,
Should I be inside?
yeah, go ahead and just sit inside it.
Okay.
And you shouldn't even need to, without even pushing the clutch in, can you just push the shifter back and forth? It should be in third. It should go between third and fourth. Yep. Okay, now go back to neutral, right there. Okay, move it side to side. All right, hang on, you're fighting against my hand, but keep doing that, side to side.
Okay, go to the right. Left, right,
Keep going,
right,
keep going. Pushing the clutch and try and go to first. Now go back to second. All right, over to third. That's, yep. Fourth. Now go over to fifth. Will it go into fifth?
third, forward, come back to the middle.
Fifth, don't go quite as far to the right to go into fifth. Just go a little bit to the right to go into fifth.
Here,
Okay. Yeah. You know, honestly, this component's looking pretty good here. So I don't even know that it's really worth changing. The pieces that I have are no better than what's on here. If we look over here in the turbo area, we've got a little bit of an oil leak going on here, so I am not surprised that we may need to do a little turbo work at some point here. You know what, I'm just gonna come in here really quickly and clean up any surface corrosion around right by where the lower A-arms mount, because rust in this area of the car, this is what kills a Saab 900, absolutely kills it. You gotta look after those areas. All right, so now I'm gonna get other things out of the way, and we're gonna see how hard it is to actually change these bushings in place on this upper control arm. Let's get it all taken off. I'm gonna go get a LaCroix because I feel like we're about to get in deep. I'm gonna take these BMW parts. I'm gonna start storing the spare parts in the basement, even though she doesn't want me to. I have this theory with LaCroix where I don't think it actually hydrates you. It's almost like it makes you more thirsty. But it's curiously addictive. I just keep drinking it and drinking it. So it's LaCroix time. All right, time to play a game of It's Not Really Metric. The wrench doesn't fit like you know it should because it's not really metric. Oh my word, it's not even tight. I'll tell you what, I will buy each and every one of you 323 subscribers a steak dinner if there's any refrigerant coming out of here. Ready? Oh, thank God I don't owe you guys a steak dinner. God, that was gonna be, whew, because you know this is getting expensive, boys and girls. Alrighty then. Vessel ratcheting screwdriver. We're not even gonna go power tools on this because it's not, doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. But we'll just here. Oh dear, look at this. It's just gonna come right on out of there. Saab was like, hey, if you want AC, you don't get clean filtered air in the cabin. You only get filtered clean air if you're not a pussy. If you're not a pussy and you don't need AC, okay? You don't. What's holding me in? Oh, we got wires. Oh my God, what do we got going on here? We got wires on shit. Oh my God. What is this wire going to, though? Ah, weird. Is this some sort of thermocouple? Fascinating. Fascinating. This must be some sort of thermocouple. Where does that go? We're gonna do some further investigating. Oh my word. Come on out of there. And then this one that Mateus sent me. So, although he has the much vaunted cover on it, let's see which of these two components. I gotta say, Mateus's component is a little bit nicer. We are going, even though it's a little bent up. All things considered, for being 40 years old, I'd say this looks fairly clean in here. So look at this right here. You can see right where the drain for the AC is. right in here. Yeah, so that's where your drain is. So if your drain's gonna get plugged, oh, sorry, I wasn't showing you. Your drain is right there. So the water flows down there into your drain. What a beautiful design, as always, from Saab. And then it goes into your compartment right here. Okay, so there's a valve. Oh, for your vents. Yeah, it goes into your vents right up in there. Fascinating. That's your blower. Absolutely fascinating. You know what? I was feeling super depressed over the inability to get those drive shafts rebuilt, but now that I'm kind of digging in here a little bit, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm feeling kind of good. But anywho, back to the task at hand. Boy, is that easy without that gosh darn AC unit in the way. Come on. Let's see here. So now, oh boy, those deals just slid right off there. I was expecting them to fight me like the lower ones. Okay, so this is going to be pretty easy to do these bushings on this side. That's the thing. These are aluminum. And when you, I don't know, like, I love Saab, but sometimes Saab, you're just like, what are you thinking, right? What happens when you have aluminum touching steel? Well, you get galvanic corrosion. And galvanic corrosion sucks. So again, like, this is another area where you gotta just like treat this rust, because it just keeps getting worse and worse, you know? I love this thing. This is like my corrosion eraser right here. It's like a Scotch-Brite on a 1/4-inch arbor. Love it. You can just cruise on over to Farm and Fleet. They'll give you a free battery on that deal. Support the local Milwaukee team, i.e. China. But who's counting anyways? So what we've got is the PowerFlex PFF 66-401H Saab front upper wishbone bushing, which at the end of the day, if you want to change the bushings on your Saab 900 suspension, this is pretty much the only game in town, I think. They make these in purple and black, and the black is, you know, a better, more classic color, even though, you know, it looks more original. They come with the metal pieces. So obviously the metal is stationary because you tighten the nut on it and it rotates like this, okay? So the grease obviously goes on the outside of this and the inside of this. This one had actually broken off a little bit. That's crazy. Let's try and get these out. Hopefully I don't have to like beat on them too bad. The old Ace OTC kit, that awesome kit I showed you in the previous video that has everything you need to do the front end service. OTC 6296, best deal on Amazon, and comes to the rescue once again right now because it's a perfect size to press out this bushing. Don't you know? And we're out. This is the kind of bushing that is the OEM bushing that kind of don't really understand, right? Because you're stationary with, again, you tighten up the nuts on here, and so you're really restraining the ability of the ID to move, but then you're not really loose on the OD either. So personally, I think that the theory of these bushings is actually to rub the OD slightly against here, because you're only moving, you know, 10 degrees, 5 degrees up and down, right? And in a way that friction of moving all this rubber against this metal acts as like a damper, okay? That's like another type of damper that the car has. And so when we go and change this and we're gonna let it move much more freely, we're gonna let that suspension articulate so much easier. We're done now. Look at how loose fitting that is, okay? Very, very loose fitting. much harder compound. Much. If you think about it, it's like the hardness of this new urethane bushing is double the hardness, right? So you're going to simultaneously allow the suspension to move up and down more easily, while the actual, micro scale vibration, the NVH, is going to become firmer. Okay, I stand corrected. I actually looked at the PowerFlex, and they want you to lightly grease the OD and the ID. This is PTFE grease, which is very, very inert with plastics. Very safe, whereas petroleum-based lubricants a lot of times obviously degrade plastics. So then we're going to come in here and get some of this in our ID. Put a liberal amount of that on. Now we're going to insert the metal piece. Good. Some of this silvery stuff, and we're going to just, it's messy, but these will probably never be removed again in the lifespan of this car. So we're going to actually paint on where the aluminum meets. We're going to paint this surface with Never Seas to isolate the aluminum, or rather the aluminum from the steel spacers, okay? I'm gonna come in here and get these back on. Here is, let's get this bolt in here and get it kind of just started. Again, the long side goes to the top. I had to refresh myself on that because you could assemble these wrong and that would be, oh man, that would be really disastrous. That would I'm the man in silver. I'm not the gold man. I'm the silver man. This is metal on metal. You can wrench this, okay? You're compressing the bushing. There we go. Now I'll beat that washer down. Well, that good. Okay, now that it's all tight, let's feel it again. Oh my God, there's no hysteresis to it, okay? It's not acting like a damper anymore. Okay, now on the other side of the car, I've been thinking about this, and I think I'm gonna do it from the bottom. I love doing it from the bottom. First thing I'm gonna do is break loose the end nut on this side, okay? But I have to kind of help it by lifting up on the arm until the arm kind of hits the stop, up against the body, up against the chassis, so I have something to hold it. There, come out. Let's get her off, of course. Now, the next one I think we're going to do from the bottom. This one will actually be pretty easy to get on right here. You can get on this with anything. Okay. Come at the bottom one. you have a bushing on you. Now, top one would be a blind job, but nonetheless not any. Again, I want you to think to yourself, could I do this job if the steering rack was here? So the leaking steering rack, fixing that is your opportunity to do all these other things. The main seal, the belts, you know, the wishbone bushings, everything. Like this is your opportunity. Don't waste it by just doing the steering rack. Also, this is why you need to work on your car yourself, because do you really think your mechanic wants to deal with a pain in the ass like this situation? No. Nobody's going to do. All right, the other side we're just going to come at with the long snap-on flex head. Again, there are obviously much cheaper versions of these wrenches out there. Obviously, Harbor Freight will sell you something for a lot less money, but I just won't do it. I don't buy that crap. I don't care if they're good. I don't even care if they're well made. I don't want to buy stuff from China. Interesting situation on this side, there appear to be no spacers at all. They are definitely fitting those spacers to the individual vehicle. Now the bottom bolt on this, the last one on the bottom flange, I can actually come at it with this wrench all the way over to here, and got a reasonably good angle of movement. I think I'm going to be able to get the ratchet, the electric ratchet on. I take that back because as I get that bolt out, I then trap the ratchet in between the oil tube right there. So that's not going to work. Okay, so you are able to get a ratchet in this spot in order to get that all the way out. So without further ado, hopefully we can now slide these off. Yeah, no spacers on one side there. And on the other side, let's see what we've got for spacers. All right, so we had none and 2 spacers on these. And yeah, so I'm going to put in the PowerFlex bushings again. I'm running out of batteries, I'm running out of steam. So this might very well become the end of a video. So I need to charge up a little bit. And yeah, actually to end this video, let's go take a look at our Evaporust. Ooh, looking good. Looking good. It's just eating that away. You can tell on the castings on the suspension upright, it's such a rough surface. I think it's going to take a lot longer for it to work, just because there's so much more surface area for the chelation to work on. This one's been in like longer than that other one. You can see it's almost perfectly derusted. This is going to be a beautiful car, man. This is going to be okay. You can see it's starting to get all the way down to the iron right there. So it's just an absolutely beautiful car. It's going to be a treasure. And to think that you can put this much effort into something and just like, you know, I just don't want somebody to crash into it. All right, boys and girls, with that, peace out. I've gotten you know what? I'm really proud of myself because you could have talked yourself out of doing these inner upper A-arm bushings. You could have said, they're really not that bad. They weren't that bad and whatnot, but it took me all in all an hour and a half to 2 hours to do it. I'm so happy I did, because I wouldn't have felt good about myself had I not gone in there and done it all, right? If I left something untouched. So with that, peace out. We'll see you in another episode.